Hello and welcome to Life As. My name is Rute and I'm a medical doctor. Now, I wanted to share these tips that I found on the NHS website. Now, these tips are in relation to the things that you can do to help your mental health and well-being, especially in the current climate. Now, the coronavirus is something that has impacted us in so many ways across the globe. There's no amount of words that I can truly use to describe the impact of this. And it has impacted so many different elements of our lives, and one of those is our mental health. And this is why I thought of sharing these tips from the site, because I found them useful for myself, and they had really useful links that you can go to that I will put in the description box. Now, if you found this video helpful, or if you know of somebody who may benefit from a video like this, please do share it, or also just share some of the links that you may see in the description box as well. With all of that being said, the first tip is stay connected with people. People will be like, what do you mean stay connected with people? The majority of the United Kingdom are in tier 4, where you cannot meet people who are not in your bubble face to face. Now, I know that other people are watching this from a different country altogether, and you might be in a position where you can safely meet other people. So staying connected with people, I think we've also found, innovative ways of speaking to our friends, of talking to our friends on the phone or things like that. And I think when I read this, I was like, well, I am staying connected with my friends, but I am starting to feel a little bit like I miss that. I miss that human contact. I miss seeing my friends. So I'm like, okay, I can't see my friends, but I miss seeing my friends. What can we do? I love having a cup of tea. Could we actually have a date night where we just going on a video conference and having a cup of tea, or can we watch a movie together on the phone, and things I used to do in the olden days. I'm thinking, oh, could I do that again? And also, sometimes depending on what the rules are at the time, you can go out for walks. You may not be able to meet in each other's houses, but you can meet outside as long as you're safe. But the whole purpose of staying connected is so that you don't isolate yourself, because all of these things that we're trying to do to prevent the spread of the virus can lead us into a state of isolation. And it is important for us to bear in mind that we now need to be more active, not being isolated. Whereas before, we'd see people at work, would see people on the bus, and without realizing that human contact is actually good for our mental health and well-being. But now we just have to be a little bit more intentional about how we stay connected with people. Next one, talk about your worries. I found that talking about my worries, honestly, is something that helps me. I talk to my family, I talk to my friends, and we just talk about what's going on, and not even in relation to the coronavirus, just in general. If there's something that you're worried about, talking about it with people that you trust can be really therapeutic. I do acknowledge that there are people out there who may not have somebody to talk to, or maybe you don't feel comfortable talking to certain people, but I will put in some of the links that the NHS have recommended that allow you to speak to certain charities or organizations about some of your worries and get some expert advice as well. Next one, support others and help others. I like this one because I think a lot of people have come together to support each other, especially in this hard time. And without realizing, by supporting and helping others, as long as you're sticking to the rules and the guidelines, without realizing, that can have a significant impact on your mental health in a positive way. By somebody just saying thank you for something that you've done, by somebody, by you talking to someone, you might have been that person that person needed to speak to somebody. So you may have just impacted on somebody's life significantly. And there's so many ways in which you can support and help others. It may just be your next door neighbor, and I know a lot of people who have just really stuck out together and worked together as a community to help each other out. And it's just, I'll just say continue, because without realizing that, you are helping your mental health. And also, the other thing about supporting others, and it's not to also put pressure on anybody, but without realizing, sometimes you, by just speaking to someone, you may just be the one who says, you know what, I think what you're going through is quite a lot. Have you thought about calling your GP about it? Have you thought about booking an appointment with the doctor about it, to talk about it? And maybe that's just the one thing that they'd been thinking about, and maybe they're scared to do it, or they hadn't actually thought about it, but by you just mentioning that without realizing, you really helped somebody out there. Number 4, feel prepared. When I read this, I was like, feel prepared? What do you mean feel prepared? Every time I prepare something, every time I plan something, the rules change, things change. How am I supposed to feel prepared? And then I generally thought back, and I realized that I get the concept of feeling prepared. Sometimes anxiety and worries come when we don't know what to expect, when we're in a situation where we have no idea, we're fearful of the unknown. And the other thing is, without realizing, as hard as it is, as tough as it is to say, the way I thought about it for myself, I don't know if it's the same for you or for somebody else, the way I felt about the coronavirus in March and April, when we were in a similar situation, and the way I feel about it now, it's quite different in terms of the fear. I do feel a little bit more prepared, and you feel a little bit more prepared because we have gone through the lockdown. It's almost like, even though we are where we are, we've gone through something similar, and so the anxiety that I had then and now is reduced because I've been through something similar before. And so I thought, okay, how do I feel more prepared now? How do I make myself to be more prepared? So on a lighter note, I was thinking about my birthday. I was like, oh, my birthday's coming up. Oh, I had plans for my birthday for this year. I was like, we're going to do this, we're going to go there. And I'm like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to have a COVID birthday. By that, I mean, if I was in the extremist of situations, of the lockdown, for example, what would I do for my birthday? And if I was in the other end of the situation where things are much better and things are where we would like them to be, what would I do for my birthday? And so I don't have as much anxiety as I had before, where I didn't know. And I know that that's a very light example, that I've used for my birthday, but I just mean in terms of trying your best to feel prepared. And it can be really difficult because the rules change. Sometimes the rules just change within hours after you've prepared something. I think feeling prepared also comes in a broader context, which that's not what I'm really talking about, but even for, employment and things like that, what services are there? What can I look up for if this was to be the case for my work? How can I adapt? How can I change? And the whole point of, I think, of this point of feel prepared is so that things are not always sudden. When you continue to get sudden things happening, sometimes that can bring about anxiety. With that being said, I recognize the point of being as prepared as you can be, but then at the same time, I do recognize that there's only so much preparation that you can do as an individual. The next one, look after your body. Our physical health has a huge impact on how we feel, and therefore can have a major impact on how we feel in terms of our anxiety and things like that. So looking after your physical health in terms of eating well, and especially when we're at home, sometimes we find that, for myself, when I'm at home, I do find that I eat a lot more, and so it's about recognizing that. And maybe you're not exercising as much as you used to because you're better at exercising at the gym, and saying, okay, how can I alter this? Is there any way I can exercise at home? Is there any way I can exercise in the garden? Is there any way I can take walks or go for a ride on a bike and things like that? But don't neglect your physical health, because that is also important. Number 6, stick to the facts. I agree with this. Make sure you're getting your information from trusted sources. I would add on and say, if the facts are something that's scary, is it something that you're consuming too much? And by that I mean, are you listening to the news the whole day? Are you listening to are you able to just listen to a bit that you need, so that you've got the up-to-date information, but you're not spending the whole day? Because just reading on these facts can be really scary and can be really frightening, but at the same time, reading the wrong information can also be really scary and really frightening, and that can impact on your mental health and well-being and can make you more anxious. Number 7, stay on top of difficult feelings. Now, I feel like we've sort of addressed this in one of the previous points, staying on top of difficult feelings, and I definitely agree. I think recognizing that, you know what, I am anxious, I feel like maybe my mood has dipped, and recognizing that and then seeing what help is available out there. What do I need to do now that I'm feeling more anxious? And I will put some of the links for this as well, because there's resources where you can find information on how to manage, feeling anxious. And also, it's important to recognize that it's normal for something like this to cause you to have anxiety, and at the same time, it's also okay for you to ask for help. Don't just feel that, oh, because I've got anxiety, because, well, everybody else is anxious. And I think a lot of people may have anxiety symptoms or have depression symptoms, and that are significantly impacting on their lives. And sometimes people, without realizing, they're trying to be kind to others and saying, you know what, somebody else is worse off than me, so no. But you're feeling it, you are having those symptoms. It's important that you go and seek advice and speak to a healthcare provider about it. And if you're watching from the UK, go and book an appointment with your GP. If you're watching from another country, then certainly, I'm not sure how the system works, but go and speak to your healthcare provider about it. Just because you feel that other people are worse off than you does not nullify or dumb down the symptoms that you're having. Number 8. Now, when I read this one, I was like, oh, do things that you enjoy. Now, as I said, I'll be talking about it from my, how I found it. Do things that you enjoy. Now, I am the kind of person who enjoys spending time with my friends, spending time with my sisters. And so it is really hard to say do things that you enjoy, although I do enjoy spending time at home. And so I am probably one of the lucky ones who I still get to do some of the things that I enjoy. But there are other people out there who just generally enjoy doing things that require to go out of the house, and they can't do that anymore. And that's really hard. That's really hard, because doing things that you enjoy helps with your mental health, helps to keep your mental health and well-being in a good state. But if you recognize that some of these things, you're no longer able to do some of the things that you enjoy, do have a look on the internet and see, what can I do as an alternative? Is it something I can watch as an alternative? Is it a new skill I can learn to develop? I mean, I enjoy doing YouTube with my sister, but we're like, oh, we can't do it together, but how can we try and alter it so that we can do it? We both still enjoy doing it, but how can we still do it? And we were like, oh, okay, let's do it separately. Now, I know, again, it's a lighter example, but it just depends on the things that you enjoy doing. And there are lots of also online courses out that you could try, lots of tutorials on YouTube on some of the things that maybe you may have wanted to try out. I'm not sure what works for you, and I do hope that you're able to find something that you do enjoy during this time, especially if you're one of those people who things that you enjoy doing require you going out. Next one, it says focus on the present. And I think this comes from the context of focusing on the current situation rather than worrying so much about the future. Because sometimes we can think, oh, what if this, what if this, what about this, what about if corona is still there, what about that? And then without realizing, you filled your thoughts with so much worry about the future. It is important to think about the future, but it's also important to recognize if your thoughts about the future are causing you to be more worried and therefore impacting on your mental health and well-being. So whereas you can say, you know what, I'll think about that later, let's focus on today. What am I going to do today? Or let's focus on this week, or let's focus on this month. But it's just being able to recognize for yourself, what are these thoughts in regards to the future that are bringing worry towards your mind. And the other one, which I really appreciate, is looking after your sleep. Good quality sleep plays a significant role in managing our mental health and our physical health. If you've had a good sleep, without realizing, you may wake up happier, wake up full of energy. But then compared to, for example, if you didn't get as much sleep, you had 2 hours sleep and you usually get 8 hours sleep, you wake up feeling tired, and as a result, you probably feel groggy, you feel low in mood, you're not as cheerful. And so trying to make sure that you have a good quality sleep is really important in helping your mental health and well-being. And I do recognize that there's some people out there who really struggle with sleep. There's certain things that you can do to kind of help your sleep, but if you find that you really struggle with sleep and you've tried a lot of things that you can do yourself, you can speak to your healthcare provider about it and see how they can help with your sleeping pattern. But perhaps you can do a video as well on some of the things that you can do for yourself in regards to having a good night's sleep. Now, I know I've talked a lot. Like I said, I found these tips quite helpful in thinking about how I can manage my mental health and my well-being, especially in the current climate. And I hope that you've picked up a thing or two, or you can share it with somebody else who may be able to find it useful. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have not joined the Life As family, please don't forget to subscribe.